Welcome back. And we now go to our final session before closing, which is about a very central plank, really, of ITIC, capital raising for startups. And let me hand you over back to Paul Hoskins. Paul.
Thank you, Rajan, and good afternoon again, ladies and gentlemen. Now we're going to have a very interesting talk from Mr. Darren Dunn, who's the president and co-founder of a company called Zartico, and formerly Entrada. Darren, welcome to the ITIC ATM Investment Summit. And I have learned from your information that your company, Zartico, is involved in data intelligence for destination marketing and management organizations. But prior to setting up the company in the last year or two, you have an interesting journey to tell us about as to how you managed to raise the finance. And it seems that it might be a little bit like crowdfunding, but I'm going to introduce you. You're going to tell your story, and the floor is yours. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Paul. I appreciate it. As a background, I've been working in tourism and technology for the past 20 years of my career, from companies like Orbitz and ITIC, which owned Expedia and TripAdvisor. So I've been through quite a journey. No journey like the past year, as a matter of fact. So first of all, I wanted to extend a thank you to the attendees, speakers, special guests, and especially the ITIC, and thank you for allowing me to be a part of that, part of this. And the discussions that have been happening throughout these meetings, both in person, which I was lucky enough to attend last week as my first conference back after all this. All these discussions are going to be the catalyst for new technologies and pivots in existing technologies, and promote new practices that will certainly affect and drive our tourism products and affect the places that we live and visit for generations to come. Hopefully it's creating better visitor experiences and quality of life improvements for the residents and their families. Conferences like this are critical to tourism, and by investing in the ideas that are coming up in these conferences, or investing in the businesses and technology, is actually critical to sustaining tourism across the industry, and ensuring that the future is bright for all of us. So I'm going to give you a little background into my company, because it was actually formed from attending conferences like this and listening to many tourism clients across the world. So if we could bring up the presentation, that would be great. Or if I need to, please let me know. So Zartico, which was formerly Entrada, we changed the name this year due to apparently Entrada is a pretty common Spanish word, and the trademarking was rather difficult once we got outside the borders of the United States. So Zartico, which meant absolutely nothing, is our new name, and free of trademarks. We started 2 years ago. Actually, next Tuesday is our official second birthday. And given the environment we've been in, it's been quite an interesting past year. If you could advance to the next couple slides. Going back 3 or 4 years ago, could we advance to the next slide or two? Apologies to the audience on the coordination here. There we go. Going back 3 or 4 years ago, I was formerly at a company called Adara for 7 years, where I ran their tourism division over there. And there was certainly winds of change were beginning to happen a few years ago. we started going from we need to fill all our hotel rooms and bring as many passengers as possible into market to actually starting to have conversations around sustainability and being able to balance the ecosystems within the destinations that people were visiting. And this was a pretty dramatic change. It really went from complete capitalism to really focusing on this sustainability of tourism, and actually going from a DMO, a destination marketing organization, to really going to a destination management organization. If you could advance one slide. And so tourism, the winds of change were certainly in the air for tourism. And simultaneously, as we noted in previous sessions, technology was advancing so fast, and the amount of data coming into these tourism organizations was escalating. So you would have a tourism organization with maybe 8 different divisions and 40 different sources of data, none of which was talking together or talking to each other. So we had, while we had a complete ecosystem of data, it really didn't matter because the data wasn't coming together so that people could actually in real time begin making decisions about understanding what is happening today to make decisions for tomorrow to actually make a more sustainable destination. Please advance. And also the ambitions of tourism organizations was changing as well. So again, moving from destination marketing to really looking at destination management, and how do we better sustain all parts of a community when it comes to tourism. So making sure that everybody is being able to benefit from the tourism that's happening in the area. Please advance. So we wanted to build, our ambition was to build an operating system for destination organizations. And it's really important that, an important distinction that we weren't just building another dashboard for tourism organizations to log into to see what's going on, to see what the results were that were going on, but to actually produce intelligence using things like AI and machine learning, so that the destinations could actually operate their destinations. And that is to see data today and take action tomorrow, so that they can actually get ahead of things. In the past, research would be used, and maybe they could make changes annually, but that just doesn't work. And it especially doesn't work in the new world that we're living in, and where COVID and the effects of it was causing us to have to pivot every single Monday and make new decisions and make changes that would have to be implemented across an entire country at different times. Please advance. So our purpose is that we're here to empower the DMOs to be better stewards of the world's tourist destinations, and doing that through not just data, because data in and of itself actually has no value. It's all about the intelligence that the data produces and how fast you can actually make decisions based upon that data. So this is a session about investment. So I thought I would speak about our journey and how we survived the past year, as well as how did we accelerate and how did we actually drive investment. And for those of you on the private side of the industry right now, I would say that now is the time to really be making decisions and building your company towards things that are going to improve the future for tourism. There's actually a lot of money sitting on the sidelines right now in terms of VCs and investors. And likewise with investors, I would say that investment isn't always just about money. Investing can be your time as well, and your time is especially for everybody that's been a part of this. Your time is so critical. Actually, taking a meeting or answering an email that you wouldn't normally answer, to listen and to give entrepreneurs such as myself feedback on what is important to your destination so that we can build towards that to make a better future for everybody. And the simple investment of 1 hour of your time, no matter who you are, you all have something so important to bring to entrepreneurs that's going to affect the future. And yes, money is always important to us. So please go on to the next slide. So Zartico, one of the things we found with respect to bringing in data is we really need to blend science and art. If you could just power through the next 2 slides. Thank you. And by art, the science is really the data and the technology and the operating system that's being built. But the art is really in the storytelling. And so how do we visualize data in a way that's super compelling to all stakeholders within a destination? And I think, part of the problem isn't just having the analytics, but it's really being able to communicate it to all stakeholders across the spectrum in the community, and telling that story in a way that actually moves them emotionally enough to make very quick decisions, whether it's based on saving their businesses over the next week, or it's how to improve the lives of people within their communities or in their neighborhoods. Next slide, please. And so, I don't think that slide's working quite properly. Go ahead and advance to the next slide. Thank you. So ultimately, it starts with the DMO or DMMO, Destination Marketing and Management Organization, but ultimately it ends with the community. And it's being able to communicate those stories fast enough with the main streets, with the neighborhoods, with all the stakeholders of the community so that they can act. For instance, being able to inform what the anticipated visitation is over the next week or two. So perhaps restaurants know how much food they need to order, or if they can potentially hire somebody part-time or even full-time to create a better experience when those visitors are coming to town. And so ultimately, that's where the buck stops, is with those stakeholders. And I think prior to COVID, I think you had your DMO and you had everything else in government, which typically tried to serve the people. And the DMO sat almost in a separate silo, and their job was to drive visitor, visitor, visitor. But I think, I hate to say it, but I think tourism in general has not done a great job at communicating what their value is to their actual community. And prior to COVID, I think if you ask most people in a community what their DMO did for them, they would actually have no idea. Maybe they'd say they gave out pamphlets at best. But the COVID actually gave us, thank you. COVID actually gave us an opportunity to see what the world would look like without tourism. And it wasn't pretty. In fact, it sucked. It was our George Bailey moment, but it also allowed the community to actually see how important that tourism was to that community. So going through our investment journey, as I said, we started in June of 2019. By January of 2020, we took on. I hired a CEO and also took on a small round of seed investment. By March of 2020, we actually hit our MVP in terms of our product. And then, of course, the world changed. And when I present this slide to investors, they always ask me what exactly happened on the official company launch. But let's take a look at the different things that were beginning to happen in March 2020. And I honestly went through, for those of you, the pinwheel of emotion. So I started off in March, and they said this thing was coming to our shores. and I was in complete denial. And somehow I moved through denial, depression, acceptance as we moved into June and July of 2020, because I had to put on my boots and get to work, because it was all about survival at this point. Please advance. So we all know the headlines, and we can advance through these slides rather quick if you don't mind. Thank you. So we all know the headlines, we all know the pictures, and let's go ahead and advance a couple slides here. And this was quickly becoming a reality, of which I was in complete denial of. And so one thing, if you'll pause here for a moment, I was at a point where the initial seed round of investment that we took on was quickly running dry. I had to make some decisions about how do I actually get my company out there and meet with destinations, because nobody at this time wanted to take phone calls and talk about potential new investments in terms of new technologies and so forth that could save them. And the primary method of marketing for technology such as myself has been trade shows our entire lives. And so with the lack of trade shows, how were we going to reach the people? Because they certainly were not in a mood to talk to us, as they were having to lay people off and talk about what they were going to cut versus what they were going to bring on. And so the idea came to myself. I hired a global head of sales. You can go ahead and advance. That's him right there, as a matter of fact. And he lives in Ocean City, Maryland, which from San Francisco is about 3,200 miles. That's right outside Sacramento, California, right there. And so we thought, you know what? Why don't we take the trade show to the people? And so thinking back about how, what we call the old timers, how they used to go from destination to destination selling their wares. I'm like, why don't we do that ourselves? Why don't we drive across country, get an RV, and actually go and set up a trade show booth in each and every destination that we visit, and get the destination to come out and actually and let's make this about them. Each destination created a gift basket that we took to the next destination to drop off to the DMO. We actually brought a film crew with us to film the entire journey, along with filming the destinations, so that they could communicate, send words of compassion. This is us actually here in Salt Lake City, Utah. We set up right in front of the state capitol, and the DMO came out. The Salt Lake City DMO came out and met with us there. We made sure everything was socially distanced. We were outside, so there was plenty of ventilation there, and that's our actual RV that we ended up driving across country. So we also had a very unique time where there was nothing else really going on in terms of the travel industry except for bad news. And so we wanted to make this as exciting as possible, a little bit campy, if you will. And so we actually put together a movie trailer, and then there's a following video that shows some of the interviews we did, some of the feelings that the DMOs had. But we literally met with 42 destinations over what ended up being 17 days versus 16. We tried to do 16, and it changed everything. So I'll let the preview as well as the second video roll from here. Thank you. go. Thank you.
Oh, you seem to have come to a grinding halt, Darren.
Oh yeah,
This is our first ride on the RV.
a little background video.
It's happening. This is all happening. This is for real.
Well, good morning. This is day 476 of the Road Back Tour. At least it feels that way. I am beat up, but 17 days going across America, my first cross-country road trip. And during this pandemic, it was just amazing to get out there and see what was really going on in the world. So many thoughts are running through my head. I feel like the RV right now. The RV, she's beat up. I'm beat up, we're all beat up, but this is one of those experiences that I don't think I could have ever, will ever do again, I guess is probably the best way to say it, but so thankful that I did it.
Thank you. If we could go on to the next slide, thank you. So this RV tour changed everything. And so that actually took place in June, and by August, the sales were coming in. And we went from 4 clients to, at the end of the year, we actually signed 23 clients, generating nearly $2 million in annual revenue. We were actually, Focusrite named us one of the hot startups of 2021, or to keep an eye on for 2021, which was quite an honor. They focus on travel startups. So this literally just putting on the boots, and it was honestly, we put everything on the line with that trip. We didn't have a lot of gas in the tank in terms of money left in the bank, but we decided to really invest in ourselves and take a chance. And if we could go to the next slide. And that success is actually continuing. We are well on our way to actually $10 million in revenue. We're now about to cross the threshold of 50 clients. And in February this year, we literally within 1 month raised a seed round of $2.3 million. And we're actually running at nearly break even. We did take on the investment round we took on was quick to come. As I mentioned earlier in this presentation, there actually is a lot of money on the sidelines. People, VCs, they love to invest in travel. Travel is a sexy industry. Not this past year necessarily, but like I said, that money's been on the sidelines, and it's now there for really good ideas for changing the future. And certainly travel in and of itself, getting in an RV, crossing the country, and physically going to meet with people, setting up and taking down a booth sometimes multiple times a day, hundreds of miles apart, changed everything. And it's because I'm so passionate about this industry that hopefully that was conveyed during this whole thing. Next slide. So next slide, please. Thank you. So, as I said, we took on $2.3 million in seed round investment. I'm not sure if we're going to go to Series A. We're just crossing the threshold of 50 clients, and I expect us to cross $10 million this year in revenue. And so that's really my story. And to sum it up, the RV trip worked quite well. It was, in terms of ROI, probably the most successful thing I've done in marketing. And we actually just recently wrapped up another trip where we did the same thing, but we focused on the mountain communities and focused on ski resorts everywhere. and went and did the same thing again to the same success. So I would encourage everybody to, if you really believe in your idea, invest in yourself, grab that fortitude in terms of both private investors as well as the destination industry. As I said, it doesn't just take money. Take that meeting, pick up that phone, give us great ideas on how we can actually mold our products to improve your destination. That in and of itself is an investment. And for the VCs that are out there, as I said, we're always encouraged if you want to take a chance on us. So thank you all very much. I appreciate you letting me be a part of this in this industry that's so meaningful to me. If you have any questions, please let me know. You can get me at darren.dunn@zartico.com. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Darren. It's a very interesting journey and obviously a fascinating experience. And it just goes to show you have a good idea and you have the passion and the desire, you will achieve your objectives. And we wish you every success for the future and
Thank you, Paul.
developing that project. So Darren, thank you very much. And thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for watching this session. We say goodbye now and hand over to Rajan to start the closing session. Thank you.
Thank you.